Welcome back to the podcast. This week I've got a guy that is, I guess you could say, famous for being on Britain's Got Talent. He's a magician. He does jiu-jitsu. He's a breathwork practitioner or facilitator, former Royal Marine, former, for his sins, Army as well. He runs retreats, lots and lots of different things. Bit of a nomad as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to James Stott.
Hello, Ads.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for the wets.
No, it's all right, mate. It's like I said to you before. It's the first time, probably in a good 6. I think it was a Falklands vet was the last in-person podcast I'd done. So yeah, it's brilliant that you've made the effort to come down. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I much prefer face to face.
Yeah, been running a retreat this weekend. How did that go? And what was all that about?
Well, this previous week, as imbued with surf vets, we had a group from personnel support group serving military who've been injured and are staying in service, and they're coming down for a week of surfing. So we were taking them through the surfing, and before we go in the water, we do a little bit of yoga, stretch, and breath work. And it was just a week in the water with those guys, and then I spent the weekend down in Newquay, just linking back in with people in this space who are doing breath, sauna, surfing. I ran a retreat in Newquay last year, and for whatever reason, I seem to be hitting a little bit of friction with getting the next one going, and I felt I needed to drop back down there, start having the conversations to sort of get me going again. And it was a beautiful time. Had a great time down in Newquay. Had a great time imbued with the guys.
You've mentioned before that you're kind of living out of a van at the moment, but have you got a bit more of a permanent base anywhere?
I'll have to show you the van. But yeah, I've got a place that I bought when I was in the military, and I have a lodger, so it's a base if I need it. But I find myself, if I spend too much time there, I get itchy, and it's not on the coast. It's back up in York. I feel I'm always drawn back to the southwest and North Devon, specifically North Devon, North Cornwall. I want to be down here, so I'm just currently renovating the place. I need to go back there today, a couple of weeks, and then I'm going to be looking at Exeter. And then just after this weekend, I was then thinking, I might move to Newquay, but I am. Everywhere's an option.
Well, I think like where we are now, just south of Exeter or the Exeter area is a great central base to put yourself, because you're only a couple of hours away from Newquay from here, and you got the north coast as well, up in Devon, and everything's within sort of an hour, a couple of hours drive from here, and that's one of the main reasons that I chose to live here. Really is the fact that it is very central to everything, and plus it was central location to the Southwest Commando units as well.
Yeah.
When I was in the Marines, so it's quite a unique place, and I love it here anyway. Plus the fact that, being quite selfish, it's quite close to a lot of surfing breaks for me as well, north coast and south. So whenever the swell's good, you'll find me ditching whatever I'm doing and go in there. And but saying that, I haven't been in the water since March, through not wanting to drive to the coast on the weekend when the swells has been good, because of the amount of people that are in the water, and laziness, I think.
Yeah. The reason why I want to be down here is for the surf. I feel, because I look at Bath, at the moment I'm looking at Bath and Exeter as potential base locations where I can bounce out of, and I think I could have a very nice life in Bath, and I've got family there, which would be beautiful to be closer to my brother and his family and my nieces. But I don't feel I'd have surfing. Surfing wouldn't be as accessible, whereas if I'm down this way, it's an hour. North Devon, Saunton, Bude, Newquay. I feel I'll have surfing in my life, and I can take groups up there as well. So that's the main draw of Exeter area.
Do you feel like you've got the surfing bug now?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love being in the water, whether it's fresh water or the sea. And I feel I took a trip out to Morocco recently. Well, it was in November, but I feel like my surfing, I'm more comfortable. I can feel myself moving better, and it's nice to see that progression. It's been a slow progress, but I feel good.
Well, I mentioned before that you also train a bit of jiu-jitsu as well, and you've got to remember that jiu-jitsu and surfing are I feel are very linked harmoniously. They're very skill based as well, and you can't get good at doing those skill based things without actually physically doing it. You've got to spend time on the mat. You've got to spend time in the water to progress any further in them, and traveling around, or being a SAS or Saturday and Sunday kind of surfer in a way. People want to get good at it quickly. I remember years ago I dated a girl for a few weeks. She was a right pain in the ass, to be fair. She was a black catter, so everything you'd done, she'd done better and 20 times more competent than you are. And I remember her saying to me she wants to surf a shortboard. So, back then was the old classic, 6.0s, looked like a pencil basically. Really narrow, really thin.
No volume.
No volume whatsoever in them. Very 90s Kelly Slater, Andy Irons-esque. But she could only just stand up. And she kept going on about she's going to be a pro surfer and stuff. And I was like, you are smoking crack, mate. There is no way that's happening. Didn't last very long. I don't know why I mentioned that, but yeah.
need consistency with the surfing, don't you? And jiu-jitsu. I'm always trying to balance I think it needs to be kind of seasonal, and whether you're hitting the weights but keeping jiu-jitsu maybe once or twice a week, having a roll, just steady in the background, and then moving it round. So then maybe jiu-jitsu 4 times a week and the weights is down to once or twice a week, just to kind of have that maintenance. But consistency for getting good is definitely, and I that's why I struggle with living in the van, because I don't hit that consistency. So then I've got slow progress. When
you do eventually find somewhere, that's going to be a little bit more permanent, or you're doing the things that you want to do, you're going to find, your niche. Then you're going to find the places that you're going to train. You're going to have a little bit more routine, I guess.
Yeah. They're both hard disciplines. I took a trip through Portugal in the van, and I was rolling, surfing, and there's a point where I was just like, I can't do this. The surfing's too hard, the jits is too hard. I'm not very good. It just felt like I was just getting beaten up by the waves and by the other people, and when you just want to, maybe I need to find something else. But I mean, that was years ago now, and I'm still keep coming back to it, keep coming back to the ocean, keep getting back on the mat.
I mean, that's why jiu-jitsu and surfing translates so well with, I guess you could say, the veteran society or the people that have been involved in kind of hardships, is because it is something that's challenging. It's something that, you can focus on, and you can see improvement all the time. And with surfing, with jiu-jitsu, again, I mentioned that they're very, very similar. There is no end game to it. Even if you get to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu, everybody's still learning. You're still learning different things. There is no right or wrong way of doing it. There's no right or wrong way of doing a technique. Everybody's body is different. Everybody moves differently. And it's the same with surfing. You look at some of the professional surfers that are like the World Surf League, or anyone that's a pro surfer, they're always super frothing to be in the water. Even if they've surfed for 50, 60, 70 years, they're still super keen to get in there. And it's because it's hard. Every wave is different. Every swell's different. Every board is different. And and there's that challenge every single time that you go in there, and you can work on something different. And each time that you do those separate disciplines brings a different feeling. And plus it's really good at like building your motivation and your, you know, your character. You know, we were integrated into us within the Marines of character building, and having hardships makes you stronger. If you can stick to something and you stay consistent with it, like we were just talking about, it makes you stronger minded as well.
I think looking at something as a lifelong process, you know, lifelong practices, and just accepting that, you know, you'll always go back to the ocean, you'll always get back on the mat, and it takes away. Sometimes we feel like we need that 8-week summer shred body, and everything's like fast now. I want it now. I want the results now. And accepting these disciplines as this is for life, for the enjoyment of it, for the community of it, is you can sort of ease the pressure off a little bit, because you'll get there and it'll just keep going. You know, there isn't an end point. It's having it in your life. I want to have jiu-jitsu in my life. I want to have surfing in my life. And I guess there isn't so much of a rush to try and achieve anything, in some sense, yeah, because it's more of the just belonging to those disciplines, those communities.
Well, you talk about lifestyle choices. Inherently, with a physical activity that, like jiu-jitsu and like surfing, it's physically active, like you're saying. Like you constantly, when you first start getting into it, you're constantly tired all the time. You've got little aches and pains, and you get little niggling injuries, and you learn to manage those. But with that comes the lifestyle, the healthy lifestyle with it. You know, if you're eating McDonald's, I mean, I'm not saying that you can't do this, but if you're eating like McDonald's,
I would say you can't. I'm pretty pedantic about these things. You should not be eating McDonald's.
Well, let's say you eat fast foods, your body is not going to operate to its optimal performance or its efficiency. Whereas, like if you're eating, I don't know, I'm just going to throw some random things out there, like salads, like chicken, meat. You know, if you're a vegetarian, your pulses and all that sort of stuff, and you're feeding the engine correctly, then everything else is going to come with it, which also makes you feel better as well. You know, if you're drinking lots of water and you're staying hydrated, you can't surf or you can't train jiu-jitsu and not hydrate your body, because it's not going to work properly. So that's when all that lifestyle choice and everything else that comes in as part and parcel of those different disciplines. Magic, you still doing it?
I've come away from the magic a little bit, and it's more not a sort of cognitive decision, but more of a feeling. I was getting rigged up for events, and in my mind it was just going, I can't do this. I was hitting some mental block, and I think I put too much pressure on it. But I don't want to let the magic die. I've got a couple of events booked in for this year. And it's actually funny, because I've been renovating this house in York, randomly I had a guy get in touch with me. He was from the States, he was travelling, and he was Googling magicians, and I'd come up and he said, do you want to hang out and do some magic? So I was off to meet this guy, almost apologetically having a conversation in my head to say, oh, sorry, dude, I don't really do magic anymore. And I got there and had a great time chatting, and he showed me some stuff which really sparked up the fire for the magic, and I went away. I've got some new stuff, new material to learn, which I'm excited to learn because it's sick. It's really cool, and to implement that into the routines. I think magic will kind of always be there, but I'm not going to go back to performing where I was a couple of years ago, which was just life on the road, a bit relentless. But I don't want to let the magic die. So it is still there, but it's definitely not. The priority now is moving into the wellness space, health and wellness.
How did you get into doing magic? Is it something you always done since you were a kid?
I didn't do it as a kid. I liked it when I was a kid. I'm born July the 30th, so in school I was skinny, and magic was weird back then. I didn't want to be doing anything that would make me more weird as just this skinny, awkward kid. So I liked it, but I didn't do anything with it. I think it was when I was about 22, young Marine up at 4-5. I saw someone doing sleight of hand magic, and I'd seen people do magic with a pack of trick cards, but I hadn't seen the skill set, the manipulation of sleight of hand with a normal pack of cards. And I was like, how is this guy changing these cards? And that, it reignited that little passion that I'd had as a kid. But now, as a young Marine, I didn't have those insecurities of being small or whatever. And I just started doing it. And it was one of those where I then always have a pack of cards in my room. It would always be on the windowsill. And I'd pick it up every now and then. And I guess over time, it just naturally progressed. And I'd show the guys. And I think looking back on it, it was a bit of escapism. I didn't even realise that until I was showing a group of guys I was working out in the Pyrenees when I was in the process of leaving the military. I was showing these guys some magic. And then afterwards we were chatting and they were asking about my past. They were asking about Iraq, Afghan. And a guy observed that every time I'm talking about these things, I'm picking the cards up, I'm shuffling, cutting. And I think I channeled this kind of angst into these cards. It was a distraction and escapism as well as the enjoyment of it as well. I could get myself lost. I think it's, when we talk about flow states, it's where I could sit down and work with the cards and then look around. It's, it's dark outside. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh shit, better get my head down. So this it kind of built. It was passion and escapism, I guess. And over the years, it got to a point where I had people say, "Can you come do that at a mess do, a Christmas party, a charity dinner?" And I think Paul Chandler was the first guy that was like, "I want you to do magic at my wedding," and I wasn't a performing magician. But then by the time he was getting married, I was then performing, and I went and did magic for his wedding, which was really nice. It was an unintentional career. So when I left the Corps, I was able to say yes when people asked for events, and it kind of grew itself. And it was, just like these overlapping circles. I found myself, I'd finished working with, I'd met Stas and Louis at Pool, and they was setting up Through Dark, and there was Foxy, there was the SAS Who Dares on the TV, Bremont Watches, and these overlapping circles that I then found myself there, and I was a magician, and it was really cool. And that sort of catapulted that as a new career. So it wasn't an intentional, I'm going to leave the Corps and be a magician. It was, I found myself doing it. And that's kind of how I find myself now with, I haven't made this decision of I want to leave the magic and go into the health and wellness, essentially. It's the magic's kind of run its course, and I'm feeling some kind of mental block there, but I'm feeling drawn to, I want to be physical. I want to be outdoors. I want to be sharing these disciplines and practices that I've come across that are beneficial and wholesome and help me in my life. I want to share those things like the breath work, the meditation, the yoga, getting outdoors, being physically active. So I feel like I'm getting drawn down this path, and it's almost like I'm a passenger in my life going, oh, let's go here. This sounds cool. I'm happy to follow it through.
Do you feel that's just kind of part of your mental state, though? You've got to the point in your life now where you feel like, I guess in some way, some people have to be like the camel, and they've got to be taken to the water to make them drink it, because if they don't drink it, they're going to die. They're going to be dehydrated. Whereas like you're just kind of finding it and going with it, but you've got this. You've got this side to you now where you don't really have that many things. Like in the rat race, people have got a mortgage, they've got this, they've got that, they've got family, they've got like these lots of different ties that are securing them in place, and they feel like they need some form of escapism, but they don't know how to do that. You've got that ability to be able to, just flow into the next things, because you don't really have, from an outsider looking in, you don't really have like these things that are holding you back to do it.
Responsibilities and commitments.
Inadvertently, without saying those words, yes.
Yeah, I'm in a massively privileged position that I'm super grateful for, in that I'm able to facilitate this lifestyle, that I can live the life I want. And it hasn't got to a point yet where I'm like, oh shit, I need to go get a proper job, as it were. so yeah, I'm definitely in a very fortunate position. It was an intention when I left the military. Leaving from pool, it was very busy and a lot of pressure, and I didn't have freedom and flexibility. And those are the things I wanted to do magic, and I wanted to surf, and so when I left, I was kitting out my van, and I thought I'm going to spend some time traveling. I was then traveling, and the magic took off, which then kind of facilitated and paid for this lifestyle. I'd bought a house, but I had it rented out, and then I had trouble with tenants and not paying rent, and then that's why I went the route of lodgers, because you can rent a room and you don't get taxed on the money. I've still got a base if I need it. I've got the adventure van, and it's kind of, yeah, I've created this lifestyle, and all the time I've got this voice in my head saying I should be in a house, I should be settling down, I should have a conventional job. And then I always question it, like, why would I trade the lifestyle that I have, where I've got this ultimate freedom, where I can drop you a message, say, well, I'll come down and see you, we'll have a coffee, we'll do this pod, I'll go see someone else, I'll go surfing. Like, I've got ultimate freedom. Why would I trade this for everyone that I speak to who's in the 9-to-5 rat race is time poor and they're skint. They're always telling me how they're skint. And they're like, oh, should we do this? Oh, it's a bit, this meal's a bit expensive, or this is a bit expensive, this holiday's a bit expensive. I'm like, why do you work? Why are you, like, if you're going to be skint, just be fucking skint and like enjoy your life, sit in the sun, train, go surfing. These things are free that you can do that. Like, I think people tie themselves into these positions that, I don't know. I wouldn't want to shackle myself into a situation where I felt like I couldn't move away from it if I wanted to.
So here's my thought on that, is that yes, people have got a 9-to-5 job, but I think it's their own personal insecurity that draws them to be in that position. There is no reason why somebody, let's talk, my situation, right? I'm a dad. We've got a family of 4, I've got a house, literally, like, saying mortgage and all that sort of stuff. I'm very privileged in the fact that because I've done 22 years service, I've got a full pension, which covers my mortgage and my bills and stuff. So, I am not by any means rolling in money, but the things that I'm doing, I enjoy doing, and we get by doing it, and we're happy. That has been the key thing with what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be worried about the money side of things, like you're saying, which I can imagine what people are. But at the end of the day, we're born with no clothes on our back, and we die naked as well. So I think this a societal thing makes us think that we need to be doing these things. Yeah. There is no reason why somebody can't just drop everything, sell everything, and go and do what they want to do. But the one thing that stops... let me ask you, what do you think is the one thing that stops people from doing that? It's quite an open question.
Yeah, I think it's super daunting to take full accountability of your life. It's easy to outsource your life to, I have to go to work and I get told what to do and I get the money and that pays the mortgage, and it just that just repeats itself. There's been a lot of questioning and a lot of internal and a lot of this self-work and all this stuff that has come from my lifestyle, and I wouldn't trade it for that conventional, but there is that hurdle. I guess it's the unknown.
It's the fear.
It's the unknown. Yeah. But we're scared of the unknown. Yeah, it is fear.
And what people fear, they, there's a classic saying, isn't there? Whatever we fear, we destroy. So if you're scared of doing something, there's a good chance, unless you've got the mental capacity and the mental resilience and that fortitude to actually go ahead and actually go and do it, people won't do it. Because, let's mold this into the breathwork side of things. you know, talking about mouth breathing, nose breathing, and all that sort of thing, is that to get people to functionally breathe correctly by educating them about mouth breathing and the difference between mouth breathing and nose breathing is, well, why do people generically mouth breathe? It's because it's the path of least resistance for the body. Unless that you are constantly breathing through your nose, or you already do it, trying to get yourself to do something that is different and create it as a habit, and then an autonomous response for your body to automatically do, it becomes difficult to do. So you could go, you know, to 1 million classes or 1 million workshops, but unless you actually put the time and effort into actually doing it to make it a natural thing for you to do, then generally you won't do it. And that you can extend that out to kind of how stereotypically people, I guess, would see their life, is that because it's difficult to do and they've got an easy option of just staying in where they are and doing it, then they won't do that hard thing.
It's this idea of you have to let go to jump to reach the next branch. If you could just reach the next branch, and it would be an easier decision, but this is, you're having to jump and let go of what you have, and there is a path where you fall, you know. And I think that's what scares people, is what if I left? The thing is, like, I mean, anyone with a house, if it fits your situation, you can rent a room out, and then that can help chip away at the mortgage. I see a lot of people in situations that they don't need to be in that situation, and maybe they've not thought about it. But I mean, the idea of having 4 weeks off a year, nah, because we'll be dead soon. And it's like, what did you spend your life doing? Well, I was working and working and working. I think what sort of cultivated this mindset is, I lost my dad. He got to 60, he retired. He took his lump sum from his pension, and he bought a van, and he had a ferry ticket booked to Spain with my mum. He was going to go. That was it. Like, he's worked, he's done the graft. And he got diagnosed with cancer, and he died 10 weeks later. And I thought, if I can't, that was the hardest thing that I've felt. And it's like, I've carried the dead lads back in on fucking ponchos, looking at them as I'm carrying them in, thinking, what the fuck is going on? And this was harder than all that, yet this was so inevitable. Like, everyone, you're going to lose your parents. And no one kind of gives you a little heads up and says, it will hurt. And people say, oh, you'll miss him when he's gone. I'm like, yeah, of course I will. That's logical. But then when it happened, and I was like, oh, ow, this is what that means. Yeah, totally different experience. And it was annoying, not annoying, but why had no one given me a heads up this was coming? It reminds me, we've both said that we're both in privileged positions, that we can facilitate these lifestyles. We say privileged, but you've done 22 years in the Corps. I did 14 years in the military. It's like, privilege, but we put that graft in to square our future selves away. So it is, yeah, we are privileged, but we didn't wake up in this position. It's the work that we've put, the foundations that we've laid to allow this to happen. I think it's kind of that sacrifice reward. So we've sacrificed that time to build this life, and now this is the reward. If you're constantly taking that reward and you're spending everything you're earning, then, you know, you can live your life like that, but you're not going to live this life. And I think overarching it all is awareness. Like, where are you wanting to go in life? What sort of lifestyle are you wanting? If you're wanting financial freedom and that, are you putting in place the steps to get you there? Or are you just going, oh, that would be nice, but then you're just spending everything you've got. You're not investing, you know. Yes, yeah.
We could go off on a massive tangent with this.
Yeah, I'll leave it there.
No, it is true. And it's difficult sometimes, because I have conversations with people, you know, being a therapist, owning my own jiu-jitsu gym as well, and being a coach, and you're listening to people's stories sometimes. I really have to kind of hold back on not giving people advice or kind of telling them what they need to do, because I think sometimes telling people what they need to do is almost like telling them what they need to hear, but they don't actually physically action it. They need to come to that realization themselves to actually make it an actionable thing for themselves, if that makes sense. Because I think everybody these days with social media and lifestyle choices, the ease of being able to get like a credit card and get yourself into debt, and everything's really accessible and really easy because it's almost kind of offered on a plate. But actually understanding something and being able to put that into action because you understand it, you've gained the knowledge, now you put that action in place, which then gives you kind of the reward or the end state of what you're trying to do. People don't see that reward. They want something, they get it, but that middle bit where they're earning it, learning it, acquiring that skill, they don't want to do the hard yards, that graft in the middle. You mentioned at the very beginning, we can translate this into surfing and jiu-jitsu. Everybody sees pros pull into massive barrels, do massive snaps off the lip, longboarders doing all these amazing things on a board, jiu-jitsu guys. They see all these really cool techniques on YouTube or the competitions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the buggy choke or, the latest craze that's out there. But what they don't understand is the people that are actually doing that have been doing that for a fucking really, really long time. They put the hard yards in and they understand how it works, which is why it's made easy for them. So when it comes to kind of like life choices and people moving out and doing something out on their own, they have to physically be emotionally and mentally preparing themselves to do it, to actually go out and leave what they're doing to do it. Otherwise, then I'm not really going to do it, because again, going back to the path of least resistance, the path of least resistance is just not doing anything. And then before you know it, like you're talking about there with your dad, before you know it, it's too late and you're never going to do what you want to do.
There's a price to be paid for everything. And if you're playing it safe, you're going to pay a price for that. There's like nothing's free. You pay for everything. So if you're in that sort of, the kind of cheap dopamine, that just craving that, you will pay a price for that later on. If you want to eat the bad food, that comfort food, if you always want that easy option, the price you'll pay is ill health, less resilience, whatever it is. You're gonna pay for it at some point. I think people act in a way that they feel like they're getting away with it. That it comes at no cost, but it comes at a cost. And again, with lifestyle, it comes at a cost. If you play it safe, the cost is you don't ever really live. It's
We've got a little bit deep with this. Let's move the conversation. Yeah. So, little skinny lad from up north. Why join the call?
Why am I skinny?
Well, you said you were skinny.
When I was a child.
Well, is this? Yeah.
I tried sort of. As in the cadets, it was always inevitable I was going to go into the military. I look back at photos. I'm in a pair of combats. I had an air rifle and playing in the woods. Like, I just loved being outdoors, loved running, loved climbing. And I think the military was the epitome of that lifestyle. I was a skinny lad, and I always wanted to be, we watched Van Damme and we watched, I was like, I want to be tough. I want to be a bloke. I don't want to be bullied. I think that's essentially what it was. Like, getting bullied and just wishing that I was tough. And what's the epitome of a tough bloke, like a soldier, a warrior? And then what's the best warrior? Royal Marines Commando. Even the name's tough. Like, you're a commando. The logo's tough. A dagger, commando dagger. It's like, I think it's so I was definitely drawn to that. And obviously people said it was hard. And I was drawn to that. I remember saying, because at the time the advert was the 99.99% need not apply. And I said this to someone. I said, "Oh, what are you going to do when you don't get in then?" And I was like, "No, you got it wrong. Like I'm getting in. I only had one goal at that time." And I remember my mum looking at me when I was going through training, and it felt like it was up till then, and looking back on it now as well, the only time that I've been solidly driven with like a one clear vision of where I was going, and that was to get that green lid. So yeah, I think it was inevitable. I was going to join the military, and that's why I went for the Corps.
We joined up in the golden age, I think, of the Corps in the last sort of 50 years, maybe. You got the Falklands, you've got Ireland. I'm not taking anything away from those guys, but they were very much... The Falklands was kind of like an Afghan, but not going on for 10, 15 years. And it was a couple of weeks long. Not taking anything away from that at all. Ireland, again, I'm not taking anything away from that. You know, that was hard graft, dealing with people that really, really didn't want you there. But when you talk about generic war fighting and what you join up as a soldier to do, we definitely joined up in the right time. You know,
fixing bayonets.
Yeah, I passed out of training, and within a year and a half, I was out in Hindu Kush in Afghan after the Twin Towers went down. 6 months later, after I came back, I was straight out for the invasion of Iraq, and then, you know, the consequential Afghans that happened after that with the Op Eric tours, you know, bouncing in and out of training establishments to train the new Marines that were actually going to go out and fight, and then going back out again myself. You know, we definitely joined at a time where you were teaching and training to do what the job said on the lid, you know, what you joined up to do, and it was a hard time, but it was actually, you know, one of the best times and the funnest times of probably my life. And when I talk about you only get one life, when you compare it to other people's, you've definitely lived about 15 or 20 different lives, and I'm only 40. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm definitely grateful for the times that I've had, even though they were horrendous at you know, some of the situations. But I look at life as like chapters of life. And I've had this chapter, and I've had this chapter, and it's just having these amazing, interesting, diverse chapters. So now I'm in this chapter, and I don't know whether you've ended up in this space, because I feel like it's a pendulum, and we've gone this far this way into the warrior, war fighting, and now we've swung back this way into the peace and the breath work and coming into the body and looking after ourselves. I'm grateful for the experiences, and it's chapters of life, and I would not like to have a chapter that's 20 years long doing the same thing. It's been diverse, and like I say, I feel like I'm a passenger moving into this next chapter of life, into the health and wellness space. Yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes.
That's one of the main reasons why I left. When I joined up, under no means did I think I was going to be a career soldier when I left. And, you know, when I joined up day one, week one, I was, you know, just surviving.
I'll do 4 years and I'll get out.
Well, no, not even that. I had no plan.
Yeah.
Like no plan whatsoever. When I joined up, it was every single day was just constantly being told you were shit and you were never going to pass out of training. That was I was in training for nearly 40 weeks because I got back trooped a couple of times because apparently my attitude wasn't correct. So I got rid of a couple of times. That's my own personal opinion, by the way. And it just got to the point where I was very much like you. And when I left, where no one really said to me, what's your plan B? There was never really a plan B. I'd set my mind to doing something, and I was going to do it, and that's exactly what I did when I left as well. Is that I went into the transition workshops, and they're like, well, you know, you've got to do plan B and plan C. I was like, now I've only got plan A.
Yeah.
And my kind of comeback to that is that everything that I've ever done, whether it's been PTI or surfing or jiu-jitsu or whatever it is that I've ever done, is that I've always started something and made it work and finished it. And that's my entire mindset, is that it would be very easy for me to go, right, this is failing, I'm going to give up on it, but persevere with it and just keep going with it and keep developing and understanding what's going wrong and how to fix it. And all of these traits have definitely been manipulated and molded through like hardship. I'd been in the Royal Marines for 22 years. I didn't have a business, or I wasn't running a business, or haven't been, I guess you could say, being a corporal and sergeant, you are managers. But if you translate it, it's making things work for you and being able to have an end goal to something and being able to achieve it. So there are certain things that you could say, oh, you did fail at that. I went back and redid it again and achieved it. And I think, those kind of things are the lessons that you only get out of doing something that is horrifically horrendous, to be able to learn from it, maybe.
I believe we can't fail. Like for me personally, I don't think I can fail. I've won so big on so many different levels that even if something didn't work out, I've still won. Like if you look at it, so 2024 now, right now in the country, we're doing all right. What day is it? Monday. We're sat here on a Monday having a coffee in the sunshine chatting. We've won. Like everyone that came before us has had to work way harder, especially you go back, a little bit further. But also like in this country right now, there's all the people that are struggling, mental health, poverty, physical health. And then you look at all the other countries around the world, all the people struggling there. So right now in the world today, we're right at the top. We're having a very nice time. And then, you, like I say, you go back, you put another axis on that graph and you go back 100 years, couple hundred years, you go back to the dawn of civilization, go back 5,000 years. Everyone has grafted. The fact like we can just turn on the tap and have clean, fresh running water and just drink that and sit here, have a coffee from Peru or Colombia and, some scran from somewhere. And we've won on so many different levels that if I went to be a PT and I didn't get any clients and then I went to be a breathwork, like it's not, I'm so high up that I can't fail. And there's too many things to have to fall through to be able to fail. It's too hard to fail. I've won, like you said, we're born with nothing. I've won on so many levels.
Do you feel like the path of everything that you've done? I'm a big believer in destiny, and also karma as well. And I believe the path that you weave is not necessarily predetermined, but I believe that your life path is like a tree. It has many, many different branches from it. You can get to the end of a branch and have the seed, and the seed can drop into the ground. It can then re-sow itself and then make another tree. It's a constant cycle of things, and the paths that you choose to go down and the branches that come out of that tree that grows are your life choices, and you're able to go that way. Do you feel like you go with the flow with something, or do you feel like you get something fixated in your mind? For instance, like the breathwork side of things and the mindfulness, your path has led you to that and you've gone, right, I'm doing that now? Or do you just feel like it's just been a natural progression of everything you've been doing?
A little bit of both, really. It's a natural progression, definitely. I've got a keen interest in development and physical health, longevity. What can I be doing to be optimal? So there's, it's hard to say. I like evolutionary biology, like the reason why we do things, and psychology as well. So I think there's a lot of it is kind of predetermined, that I am this type of person because primal instincts in me has evolved me to be this way. Like I say, I do feel like a bit of a passenger, but also I do have this keen interest in developing. So I think a little bit of both, really.
People's perspectives on the way that they have their outlooks on life, I guess, some ways. This is why I like doing the podcast, and I like chatting to people, even though my missus and my kids hate me turning into my dad and chatting to everyone that you sit next to. But I find people's stories really interesting and their perspectives. We were sat in a cafe in Fort Lauderdale about a week and a half ago. Just got back from a family holiday, and I was just sat there, and we were sat in the window of this restaurant in a really nice. If you've ever been to Fort Lauderdale, there are a few places there that are really wealthy, and we were sat in this cafe that was smack bang in the middle of this really wealthy place, and I was just sat there watching people drive by, walk by, and I do this quite a lot, and I just sit there, and it's almost kind of like a game of what's that person's life like? What do they do? You know, what have they done? What are they doing today? You know, what's their inspiration? You know, what are they scared of? And I think I love space as well. You went to the Kennedy Space Center. Yeah, Cape Canaveral, the NASA Space Center a couple of days ago. And I find it a little bit overwhelming at times, because to try and comprehend or conceive that there is billions and billions of people on this planet. Outside of the planet, you've got space, solar systems, nebulas. It's endless. That's why I kind of feel like I'm in the space that I am in my head, is because there is so much possibility out of there. It's just really hard to grasp, because it is endless, man. This is deep.
Yeah.
But like time and space and all this kind of thing is really deep. So when you kind of sit down and I watch people walking by, you know, we never really had a proper sit down conversation. You know, we've said hello to each other, and you know, we know of each other and know each other. But to sit down and like say, "What, you're my best mate," I can only see what you put out there. The world now is full of visualized Instagram, TikToks, YouTube videos. Those are the pictures that people portray. But what is that actual person like? Which is why I find this really interesting, you know?
Yeah. A lot of things to touch on there as well. The breathwork side of things and the mindfulness, you've started a would you call it a small business? The wellness warrior path. Yeah, that's the plan. I wouldn't say it's a business yet, but I mean that's definitely the idea, and essentially it's sharing the things that I've found valuable and beneficial in my life. Sharing those, I guess. All the information is out there, and you could Google it, YouTube it, you can get anything, you can follow any sort of practices on YouTube. But we like to have someone teach us, and hopefully I will find people that want to come to me and listen to my take on things. These are practices that I put together, and we all put our own spin on things. So if I came and did a breathwork class with you, it's going to be different to one that I would teach. But I'd maybe take, if there's elements in it that I like, I'd maybe take them, and vice versa. So yeah, I am trying to build a business, and I don't really know. Yeah, it's a funny one, because it's how do you build a business? And I need to have a website. I need to have, and that's why I did the retreat, because I want to move into this space, and I thought I've just got to, like you said, jump head first into it and do it. And then it's like then I can quash any self-doubt with like, well, I've already done it. I've sold tickets. I've found people who responded when I said I'm going to do something, and they came, and it was incredible. So it is viable, but it's not yet established. Hopefully I'll have it established this year, and it'll have a little bit more of a structure to it in terms of everything, training, coaching, retreats, one-on-ones, workshops, ebooks, like everything, sort of everything that's sharing information, sharing practices that are beneficial for people, so that people can adopt these practices, and just mega short, sweet things that they can do daily, but living a more intentional life. So it's just tweaking that trajectory, so that then you compound effect of time on that, and they live a better life. They live a healthier life. Hopefully they live a longer life, but definitely a more aware and intentional and optimal life. We can't give our life more time, but we can give our time more life. So I want to be present in my life. I want to sit here. I want to look at you. I want to listen to what you're saying. I want to enjoy the coffee. I don't want to be, we're in a very fast-paced kind of world where we don't even stop for lunch. We pick up a meal deal, we eat as we're driving on to the next place, and we don't actually sit down. And I think, just to be present in your own life. I looked into looking into, blue zones and longevity. So these areas of the world where people live over 100, and everyone just looks at, okay, what are they eating, what they do, and it's like, but look at their whole lifestyle. They take 2 hours for lunch where they sit down and they eat together. I really appreciated that with doing the surf week last week with the guys, because we sat down and we ate a meal together. And sitting down, like, loneliness is, they're showing that loneliness is as bad as smoking. It's bad, but everyone's living alone, doing their own little life, and we've lost that kind of community. So I think essentially that's what I want the wellness warrior path to be, is to create this community as well. So the people that enjoy what I'm sharing come to it, and we do the workshops, we do the coaching, we do the retreats, but also I'm building a community of like-minded people that can share different ideas.
I think one of the things that we don't do as a society of British people or military is massively undersell ourselves. It's one thing I've learned since leaving, is that the people that do really well and have no predispositions in their own personality about how to sell themselves, they're very outspoken about it. They talk about what they're doing all the time. The people that do really well are not the ones that tell everybody how they're better than everybody else. They just give them the information, and they have got a way of having people draw to them like a magnet, because they resonate with those people, and the way that they put it across is in a manner that relates to them. There are people like in the different markets like we're in, jiu-jitsu, wellness, breath work, holistic practices, all those sort of things are very much, I've come to realise that they go away and they do a course and they just regurgitate the things that they've been taught on the course. They actually don't have any kind of background or kind of experience in what they're doing, or they don't learn from the lessons of the things. And
they don't know why they're doing the things they're doing. They're teaching what they've learned. This is what I found with the guy that we're talking about. He's going through the motions, but he doesn't know why we're doing this, and he doesn't give a reason why we're doing this. It annoys me a little bit.
But that's the selling point for you.
I've got a friend in London called Felix Price, and he's a I call him a shaman. He has his whole training is mixed spiritual arts, but he's so authentic. He's doing his daily practices all the time, and at the moment he's doing these sun salutation yoga, 6 o'clock every morning in the park. But he's doing it whether there's people there or not. He's there, turning up, showing up in life as the person that he wants to be, and whether people come and join him, or whether people log in and watch him on Zoom, or nothing, he's still there doing it. And I want my lifestyle. These are the things in life that I enjoy doing, the surfing, the jiu-jitsu, and living a better life. And I want to have a lifestyle where it's running in line where what I'm doing, exactly where you are, where you're doing the things that you want to be doing, but it's also your business as well. It's not like, oh, I'm going to work, then I'm getting back from work and I'm grabbing my gi to go to jiu-jitsu. Your life is on the mat and sharing that knowledge. But there is a lot of people operating in this space that seem to be less authentic.
I guess that just comes down to they don't know any better. We're just going around in a big circle here. The stuff that we've been talking about. If they don't know any better, and they're kind of like forcing the way through things, and that's very much how I kind of see, not failing, but giving up on things, is because the easy route is not necessarily the best route to take. I did something at the very start of when I first started my therapy business. Is I went straight in and went feet straight in and went into a full-time rental with no clients like whatsoever. I hadn't built a client base up or anything. So I was bleeding rent every single month, and I wasn't even hitting that mark to pay the rent off with the clients that I had coming in. Learned that lesson like really, really quickly. So that is one of the lessons that I've learned through everything now, is that, for instance, my jiu-jitsu academy, I want it to be a great space. I want it to be welcoming for kids, women, different people within the community. I like to think that the attitude that I portray through is not just like about competing in it, but it's developing you as a person without kind of going along the lines of going, I am a life coach. I don't want it, because some jiu-jitsu places are kind of like that. They try and teach people life skills through doing jiu-jitsu. It's kind of like, I just want it to be a really nice place for people to come, a community. They make some friends out of something that are in the local area, and they enjoy doing it, but they're learning a self-defense sort of thing as well, and they just enjoying the mindset that it gives you as well. But I'm also really conscious that I could be one of those people that goes, fuck it, I'm going to go and spend thousands of pounds on the credit card, get myself into debt, and then have to have a 10-year plan to work myself out of the debt I've put myself into before I've even started. I'm trying to like doing not what I did at the very start and try and build something really, really slowly. Yes, organically growing something slowly is quite frustrating, because if I draw a line on a bit of paper and I put a dot at the start of it, I want to be at the end of that line already. But the whole kind of process of going through it and building it slowly and learning and doing lots of different things to kind of develop your instructional skills or whatever it is to get to the end point. By the time I get to the point where I want to be, or I would like to be, it's going to be sustainable. Whereas I think a lot of people are very much like, right, I've got this idea, or I want to open I want to open a cafe. So they open the cafe and they go, boom, it's there. But then they struggle because they haven't developed the client base. They haven't
gone through that process from the start to that dot there, which is a whittling of your character.
It is, yeah.
So then when you do get to the place, you are that person that should be in that place.
Yeah. Yeah. And am I there yet? Do I think I'm there yet? No, nowhere near. But I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And I'm in no rush to do it either. I get time to...
Because your life is in sync. You're living a lifestyle that you want to be living, and it's growing with it.
But what I'm really conscious of is not getting stuck into a rut of...
You want to keep progressing. Because
it's, like we were talking about, because it's easy, I just keep doing what I'm doing, but then nothing grows then. You've got to look at like... Let's go like really deep into sort of like the way that the old Japanese kind of samurais looked at the way of doing things. If you plant a seed into something and you're underneath the there's loads of overgrowth or stuff that's blocking the sun, that seed's going to eventually find its way to find where the sun is and work their way around that. And that's kind of how I want it to be. I want to work my way around to get myself to be the top of that canopy, as opposed to just kind of like, I'm happy with being underneath it.
Do you have an end goal of where you want to be? Have you got, like, people talk about this clear vision of, or are you just, like you say, just enjoying the process with an intention to keep progressing it? Or is there a specific, I want to have a studio with this many clients, or I want to have...
No, not at all. I do have like an end goal with something. I think with... I don't want to keep saying wellness, because wellness sounds very like woo-woo-y. I'm wearing multicolored pants.
When I came up with the name with the Wellness Warrior, I had a conversation before I told them it, and they were telling me how the word wellness just turned them off so much because it's overused. And I was like, oh.
I think it, again, it's perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
What I would like to do is I would like to create my wife is just finishing off doing a degree in cognitive behavioural therapy, and she's been in the mental health space with the NHS for about 15, nearly 20 years, doing research and things like that. So what I'd like to look to do is, when you talk about, like, I don't know, coffee mornings or wellness workshops in inverted commas, where people come and they chat, and like if when people have babies, they have like these little wellness groups where they come and they chat about stuff. I want to make it mean something. So it's not just a place where people come and chat and they eat a shitload of biscuits and some cake, and this is like wellness. But it's not.
Yeah.
I want it to be a place where people could come and chat about stuff, which, like, they've got the physical aspect, they've got a mental aspect of it as well. We're giving them little bits, little tools to take away with that they can amalgamate into their life and create something better. So when you're using the word wellness, it actually means what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
So people are actually getting something out of it, as opposed to having a chat and then going away and not actually feeling any better from it. So they've got community, they've got the physical side, they've got the mental aspect, they've got the nutritional side, and putting something together like that, that is where I see myself in 5 to 10 years, having something like that.
That's where I want to go. That's the sort of place I want to go to.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we can build that.
I'm the same. So I mentioned Felix before, who I follow some of his stuff, and on one of these he has these little rituals, and one of the rituals is like drawing a vision, and I just kind of sat down and was drawing, and I ended up drawing a picture where there's some water and there's some mountains and trees and there's kids and dogs, and it's like, and I sort of had this vision of, I'd like to have a space, where I could do jiu-jitsu here, community jiu-jitsu, a cafe, but again, a cafe that's like, it's good stuff. So it's not like, I do love cake, but it's not, I'm trying to come away from that. So I would much rather have something where you feel energized from it, rather than having like a sugar spike and a crash, and then you feel like irritable and all that. Like having everything that kind of combines into that. But yeah, I struggle with having clarity on a vision of where I'm going. No matter how many, I try and, okay, what is it I want in my life? And I go through and I keep, my struggle right now is I just don't know where to base myself, because I think I've let it run for too long, and I've got this, super nomadic lifestyle, and I'm finding it difficult to, okay, where do I anchor? And I have to remind myself that it's not a forever place, but literally just a base. And let's say I chose Exeter and then it wasn't Exeter, well, then I can always go on again. But yeah, in terms of like a clear vision of, I'm trying to build this business, and I keep trying to write out what is it exactly specifically that I'm trying to do. And I kind of get in there, but I do find it hard trying to, a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. I do struggle with them, I think.
I think having the 5 and 10 year thing is like a militaryism, isn't it? You know, we used to have to do that when we had inspections in the gym. What's the 5 year and what's the 10 year plan? I use that in a loose context, really. I think just having kind of like a vision of, like you're saying, an idea of like where you would like to be, like within that time frame.
I hear people call it like a North Star, just having a North Star direction of where you're moving towards.
Fair enough. But there's no rush. There's no rush to get there, to be there. And if you don't end up getting to that place and you're like, and you digress off somewhere else, that's good too.
Yeah. Like your military career, it never goes the way you think it's going to. You sort of think, I'll join the Marines and it'll probably be like this. And then all of a sudden you drafted somewhere else, or then there's a course coming up, or then you're getting deployed somewhere, and you could never predict the way it's going to go. But enjoying the process is you need to enjoy the process.
I used to try and bribe people. Whenever I got drafted, within 6 months, I was like straight back into the career advisor, and I was like, right, I want to go here. How do I get there? Right, you need to do this, this, and this. And I was like, right, all right, okay. What's the shittest thing that like he can give me that I can do? They go, oh, this guy's a good guy. And I'm like, right. And that's how I used to how I used to manage my career. As I always used to try and go to the rubbish places that people didn't want to go, but then make the best out of it as well.
Logs.
Yeah, I spent. How long did I spend there? About 5 or 6 years in the end.
Really, I think that's where I saw you. That's where I came across you. I think so.
You Med Squadron then.
Yeah.
So the only reason why I wanted to go there is because I could surf 3 times a day. When I first got drafted there, within 6 months, that's when I first started doing jiu-jitsu. There was a purple belt that turned up, black belt in judo. Said I wanted to start teaching jiu-jitsu, and I bought a load of mats and put them in the squash court.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So that's when I started, and that was 10 years ago. And but yeah, that was the one of the main reasons why I wanted to go there, and plus I just had a kid and was looking to start a family, and that was the second half of my career as well. My first half was going away war fighting and stuff, and I felt like I'd lost my cat life. So this was being a PTI and working in the gyms.
What, had too many close calls?
Yeah, like a lot.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, isn't it, when you think about it?
Well, on Herrick 12, people think I'm going to exaggerate when I say this, but I got blown up 22 times. So that's destroyed vehicles or commanding them, or being in American vehicles that got blown up as well, which was like my worst fear. Because on Herrick 5, I got Kazivac 2 weeks from the end. I got blown up in a Wimmick. So when I went onto that tour, before I even went, I was quite excited about going back again.
Yeah.
But then in the back of my mind, I was like, the last thing I want to do is be stuck in a vehicle. And lo and behold, I wasn't only just stuck in the vehicle, but I was stuck in the enclosed vehicle that didn't have an exit point. There was only the rear cupola or the back door. So you had no sort of like spatial awareness or anything, and that was good. That was like my worst fear, and I had to massively overcome that because I was quite scared about doing that. I really wanted to be, back on the ground, but luckily enough, I did both. Both foot patrolling and vehicle stuff, and ended up being back in open top vehicles as well, doing some of the stuff that we did. On the second Afghan tour I did, bombing around the desert and jumping in and out of the green zone and smashing shit up and then coming back out again, which was pretty cool. And
it feels like, I don't know if it's like milestones in life as you're aging, and that moment where it's almost like hanging up the rifle, passing the baton to the younger lads to carry on the fight, kind of. And so for me, like, I felt like I've scratched that itch and I'm happy to leave it there. But then I've also felt little pangs of like, I'm not done yet.
Mate, I'm like that now. I could literally like, if I didn't have my family and my kids,
Yeah.
I could go back and do that now. I did think about doing like CP work and stuff like that because it's quite lucrative. But that would be, selfish reasons on my behalf as well.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side of it, the way that it worked in my head when I left is that I sent a bunch of emails before I left saying that I'd like to be extended and blah blah blah, and but I'd put like these markers in time where this is the extension board. This is when it sits. This is when you get told whether you're getting extended or not. It didn't happen. That was the line in the sand for me. Then that year out, that was like, I'm going to do the stuff that I enjoy doing. I'm going to do the courses that I want to do for when I leave, and I'm going to do the things that I enjoy doing. Enjoy my last year. Don't get me wrong, like I thoroughly enjoy soldiering, and I still do, and I still have like these little niggles to go and do it. But I also think, like you were saying, is that when my 22-year point, I was 40. I was like, fuck, I could still have a second career. Yeah. I've got friends that are in their mid-50s now that have done like 30, 35 years, and not saying that they're like at the end of their life or anything like that, but it's difficult to go into an employment into a world where you're looking to get employment or start a business when you're kind of like in the 3/4 way point of your life. It's really difficult. Like midway in my life, I'm like, right, there's so many different opportunities out there. I'm still fit enough where I can surf, and I want to surf till like the day I die.
Yeah.
It's been my passion since I was a kid, so I'm never ever going to stop doing that. Jiu-jitsu is very much the same, but I have to manage it because it's a very physical aspect of doing something. But the way that I do things is like how I really kind of want to give advice and refer that like energy on to other people to say, look, I'm a fit 42-year-old bloke that could still do the stuff that I was 20, but I have to manage it in the correct way. I'm enjoying doing the things that I'm doing, and you can too. And that's kind of the space that I'm in at the moment.
Yeah, you want to be capable to be able to do stuff in life.
Yeah. How are you finding like the whole kind of surf journey? Is that bug's thoroughly bitten and you're integrated into it and you're like, I don't want to miss the next swell, man?
No, I don't know. I don't think I'm like die hard on it. I love being in the water, and I think I'll just keep returning to it, and it'll just be having it in my life is what I want. And sharing that as well, taking the whole blue mind aspect of it, of the therapeutic benefits you get from. I've got a friend he's in the fire service, and he's discovered the ocean now. We go out surfing, and that's when. So this is the whole thing with the world has never been easier for blokes to talk, yet everyone's sort of still going, oh, men need to talk, and it's never been easy. It's not that it's hard. It's not that it's, it's never been easier for blokes to talk, but still it's an issue. And I think doing something like surfing, where you go for a paddle out and you're sitting out back, that's where this friend will start talking about jobs he's done on the fire service. I think having it as a side effect, I think the men's shed set something up like that, where it's just blokes getting together and working on something. I've heard that, a lot of male depression is getting the same as female depression, and it's very like, I don't know, embarrassing and uncomfortable to sit face to face with a bloke who you don't know and open up about the stuff that you're struggling with, to cry in front of them, and then it makes you feel worse. It stirs up. Whereas if you, same with jiu-jitsu or these physical things, well, specifically surfing with the blue mind, being in the water, I want to share that with. That's what got me back into it. I don't know. I literally just posted about it very recently, where I used to go down to Poles F and help surf with injured vets, injured lads from Afghan era, and that's where I met Richard. Brought the concept of op surf from California to the UK, surfing with guys, and there's, you know, kids with autism, women, rape groups, people who've suffered trauma, discovering the ocean, going surfing and finding it help. And then over the years, I'd lost touch with Rich and with that element of things, and especially working at pool, surfing and magic got put on the back burner. I didn't do it for a couple of years. And it was reading a book by Wallace J. Nichols, who's a neuroscientist. It's called Blue Mind, and he's talking about, he studied what's going on in the brain when we're in and around, under or on water. And he mentioned about op surfing. I was like, shit, I know Rich, I need to get in touch with him. Got in touch with him, said I want to be involved with surfing with veterans. Selfishly, for a little bit of purpose in my life, but sharing that benefit. And that's how I got involved with the Bude Surf Vets, and was then surfing last week with them, which is, yes, I'm not not diehard surfer, but I think surfing will continue to be a part of my life. Nice.
What are the things that you've got coming up?
Right now, get this house in York finished, and then I'm free again too. The focus is to move into the wellness space, and it will be physical training, but with the wellness bolt on, the functional breathing. What's your sleep like? What are your relationships like? How are you fueling? What's your mindset like? There's a lot of like negative chat, and I think just tweaking what we're saying out loud, what we're saying to ourselves. I heard someone saying about, there's so many top level coaches who have coached their athletes to top level performers without berating the shit out of them. Now, we're our own coaches, we're coaching ourselves, yet we berate ourselves so much. And we could just look at it a little bit without the berating and go, okay, today wasn't the best day. We ate we ate too much cake, but tomorrow let's do less of that. And instead of just giving ourselves a hard time, just try and coach ourselves, but in a more positive way, to be more of the person that we want to be.
Mate, thoroughly enjoyed talking to you on the podcast. Definitely going to try and get you back on as well.
Yeah.
There's some endless little rabbit hole warrens going on here. And I appreciate your time. So thanks for coming on, mate.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's good to see you. Good to have a wet and sit in the sun and chat.
No worries. And if you like the podcast, please like, share and subscribe on your podcast provider, and leave us a little comment or message on Spotify or iTunes. Thanks for listening.